This is verse 82 from the Tao Te Ching. Birds do it. Bees do it. Even educated fleas do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. Cold Cape Cod clams, against their wish, do it. Even lazy jellyfish do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. The chimpanzees in the zoos do it. Some courageous kangaroos do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. And the last stanza, verse 82 from the Tao Te Ching, I am sure sometimes on the sly, you do it. And maybe even you and I might do it. Because there isn't a person in this room or a person on this earth who didn't learn love at the feet of their masters, which is at the feet of our parents. Which means now we have to unlearn everything we learned. This is from the story, The Birthmark. In the latter part of the last century, there lived a man of science. And one day, he left his laboratory to the care of an assistant, cleared his fine countenance from the furnace smoke in his laboratory, washed the stain of acids from his fingers, and persuaded a beautiful woman to become his wife. And one day, very soon after their marriage, the scientist, whose name was Elmer, sat gazing at his wife with a trouble in his countenance that grew stronger until he spoke up. "Georgiana," said he, "has it ever occurred to you that the mark upon your cheek, the birthmark, might be removed?" "No," she said. Indeed, it hasn't ever occurred to me," she said, smiling, but perceiving the seriousness of his manner, and she blushed deeply. "To tell you the truth, it's so often been called a charm that I was simple enough to imagine that it might actually be a charm." He said. "Upon another face, perhaps it might be." This was one day very soon after their marriage, just pointing that out. "But never on your face. No, dearest Georgina, you came so nearly perfect from the hand of nature that this slightest defect, which we hesitate whether to term it defect or beauty, it shocks me as being the very visible mark of earthly imperfection." "Shocks you?" cried Georgina, deeply hurt, at first reddening with momentary anger, but then bursting into tears. "Then why did you take me from my mother's side? You cannot love what shocks you." Okay. Now, this is from a story called The Birthmark by Nathaniel Hawthorne. We come into this world perfect. And until we understand that we come into this world perfect, we're going to look at things that other people call flaws that are actually our birthmarks, our identifying marks, made at birth for a purpose, with a reason, and a place in our life. We are going to listen to people because that's who we are when we're young. We are listening for who we are. We're not telling people who we are. We're listening for who we are and who we want people to be. who those people want us to be. That's what we're listening for. Who do you want me to be? This is who I am, but who do you want me to be? Who do you need me to be? And boy, we are on our tiptoes and we are exceptional. If you think you're good, turn to the person next to you. They probably think they are the best at it of all. And it is figuring out what somebody needed you to be, how they needed you to act, how they needed you to smile, how they needed you to do you. Because when you figured out how they wanted you to be, well, then it made perfect sense. You just had to be that, even if it wasn't who you were. That's the story, not of your childhood, not of my childhood. That is the story of childhood. Everybody's childhood. Everybody's. The only problem with that story is you come in as you are. You come in thinking that birthmark is a charm. You come in thinking that it's this sweet thing that makes you kind of different than everybody else, because nobody else has a birthmark on their face quite like yours. And what was the interesting thing about this birthmark? It was in the shape, a teeny small version, a miniature version of a hand. Little teeny hand, that's what it looked like. A little hand, you could see it that way. Right on her cheek. And she thought, oh my God, this is like the hand of a fairy that touched me on the cheek and left an impression on my cheek. Isn't that just the most beautiful thing in the world? It's like the hand of an angel. Like a little angel touched my cheek, and now I have the imprint of a little angelic hand on my cheek. How beautiful that is. Nobody has that, but I do. That makes me so completely different. Georgina explains to him. We try to explain to those around us, only to find out that this little hand, which people can see, makes us different. And this little hand that people can see, if they can't see it, but if they can see it, this little hand makes you different than all the other little children, all the other people in the world. Then it makes me different. Then I'm different. If you're different, now we're both different. Nobody wants to be different and stand out. Nobody wants that. So she marries this guy, and one day shortly after they get married, one day shortly after we enter this world as who we are, as who we came to be, loving those distinguishing marks, we find out that those distinguishing marks aren't necessarily loved by everyone around us. And understand something, never ever are we talking about bashing a group of people for their ignorance, for we are that group of people, as you will soon find out. Everybody was raised by everybody. All parents were raised by their parents who were raised by their parents, and the cycle continues as we then raise our children, as we then raise the child within ourselves and become parent to ourselves. Because here's what happens. They lived, supposedly he fell in love with her, and they were having supposedly a happy time until he married her. Once he married her, he couldn't take his eyes off that birthmark. Now that's all he could see. Right? Here's this beautiful woman, fabulous body, fabulous home, comes from a fabulous family, sitting in a fabulous house. And all he can see is the birthmark. And it's hard because she can feel exactly how he feels every time he looks at it with disdain. Now it's all he's thinking about, and now it's all she's thinking about. And pretty soon we figure out when we're very, very little. That if you don't like something you see in me, I'll just put that away. If you don't like something you see in me, then I don't like something that you see in me. It doesn't take long for us to get there. At first we think, well, this is me. Well, this is me. This is the angel. This is the little sweet hand, the fairy that makes me different. But after a while, if that's how you are looking at me and it brings you unhappiness and you are my parents and I am this little and you are this big, well, hell, who are your parents when you're this little? But you're God's. Forget the concept of God. You don't even get to the concept of God. Your gods are mom and dad. And if the gods themselves are looking with disdain at something that you think is quite marvelous about you, and whatever that might be, whatever that birthmark is, whatever your differentness is, maybe you like to scream a lot because you're that happy, except you're in a family that doesn't appreciate screaming as an art form. Maybe you're a little boy and you like things that little girls should like, or you're a little girl and you like things that little boys should like. Maybe you're in a creative family and you're not creative at all because all you want to do is add up numbers. Maybe you're in a family of pacifists and all you want to do is read about the histories of wars and put war paraphernalia on your walls, and your dream is to go to war. What if you're any one of these kinds of kids and that's your birthmark? It doesn't take long until that which makes you you, which disturbs them, is going to disturb you. And it's not going to take long for it to disturb you so much that when you are in their presence, you're going to do what Georgina did, which is every time she started talking to her husband, she started covering up her birthmark with the shame of that which brought her new husband such pain. And now that which she loved, she has hidden. And that which we love in ourselves, we begin to hide, not out of ignorance. We hide it so that we can survive. It's actually incredibly, incredibly smart to hide that which troubles the people around us when our survival depends upon the goodwill of those around us. So we begin to hide it. We begin to be ashamed of it. We begin to get angry at it. We begin to hate it. We begin to loathe it. See, we need to understand when we're talking about love and we're talking about the steps and we're talking about the program, alcohol, drugs, eating, internet porn, overdoing anything doesn't start when you get a computer at 21 or at 18 or when you have your first legal drink. It doesn't even start with your first drink, your first drug, your first Twinkie. It starts all the way back there. And that's everybody's story. And without a spiritual path that enables us to understand, A, that it's everybody's story, and B, look at this sign on 72nd Street. I see it every day on 72nd Street where I live. Big, huge sign about 9 stories pasted, and it's painted on the side of a building, and it's never come down. It's not one of those ads that goes up and down. It's there. Depression, it says, is not a flaw in character. It is a flaw in chemistry. And I look at it every day, and it troubles me every day that I see it, because depression isn't a flaw. The birthmark isn't a flaw. The addiction isn't a flaw. Your differentness isn't a flaw. What we understand on the spiritual path is that distinguishing mark, your distinguishing marks, were put there, and Georgina was right, by an angelic hand. You don't like that? By a divine hand. You don't like that? By the universal creative intelligence to make you be the person who's going to walk the path you're going to walk and become the person you must become to do the things that you must do. You have to have that differentness in you. And if you call it a flaw, what you want to do is fix it. She turned to her scientist husband, right? And she said, "Get this off my face." Listen, of course she said that. That's the only thing she could do. She said, "If there be," she said, "Almer, I know not what may be the cost to both of us to rid me of this fatal birthmark. Perhaps its removal may cause a cureless deformity, or it may be the stain that goes as deep as life. Is there a possibility on any terms of unclasping the firm grasp of this little hand which was laid upon me before I came into this world?" We know that these differentnesses about us are not superficial, and so did she. We know that. Who we came here to be, our differentness, our birthmark, our distinctiveness, that was not seen as divinely inspired, but rather a flaw of nature. Misunderstood as a flaw of nature, because what else can you see it as with your naked eyes? With your naked eyes, it looks like a flaw. With the eyes of your soul, which is what the spiritual path does, it takes every one of your stories, it plays them back for you, except this time on the spiritual path, you're looking at them with your deeper set of eyes so you can see the deeper picture, the bigger picture, and oh my God, it's completely different. There's a part of her that knows. This birthmark, this grasp on me, this was given to me by life itself. It goes as deep as life itself. She knows that. We know that. What we call our curses are our blessings. When Jacob wrestled the angel on the mountaintop and the morning had come and the angel needed to leave, he left a mark on Jacob. He didn't say, "Hey, great wrestling match, dude. That was fabulous for like a human guy and an angel. Here are the keys to a Maserati because that was really flippin' good of you." What he did was he gave him a wound, a mortal wound. He disjointed his thigh bone so that he had a wound, a divine wound, as a memory of this place and this time. His birthmark of a place and a time. Here, the angel said, "You have wrestled with the Lord." He gave him this as a gift. See, that's what we can only see with our deeper eyes. And the minute we use our deeper eyes, we can see that embedded in the wound is the gift. It's the healer's gift. We don't open up. We don't open our heart. Don't kid yourself. We don't open until we're cracked open. That's what hitting bottom is. We all, hitting bottom, everybody hit. Hitting bottom is a serious thing. There's not a person in this room that does not know when they hit bottom. Many times. What they were wearing, what went on, who was with them, who wasn't. Come on, it's so true. We remember every one of those moments because those were the moments, not the moments that we were broken. Those are the moments we were broken open. And the angel needed a way into Jacob. So that where that crack was, that birthmark is, that deformity is, that illness is, that suffering place, that wound is in you, that differentness is in you, that makes you stand out and everybody look at you because you are different, and you are. That's how the light can come in, and that's how the light can go out. You know it's not until we've done some suffering that we can feel the pain of anybody other than our own little old dried up selves. That's how the light comes in and it goes out. And she said to him, if there be the remotest possibility of it, let the attempt be made at whatever risk. Look at this. Look at this. At whatever risk, do what you got to do to take this stain off me that brings you such unhappiness. You don't think we do that for our parents? We love our parents. They're our whole world. And every parent in the room has done it for their parent, and every parent and grandparent of them has done it for their grandparents. We all do this. We look up at the people who birthed us into this world, and we say, what do you need me to be? And even if what I have to be means at whatever risk I cut it out of myself, I'll do it. We'll do it. At whatever risk, she said. Danger is nothing to me, not anymore. For life, while this hateful mark makes me the object of your horror and disgust, life is a burden which I would fling down with joy. Either remove this dreadful hand or take my wretched life. And at that moment, looking at her, he kissed her cheek. The right cheek. Not the one that bore the impress of the crimson hand. The world will tell us what we need to know about who it needs us to be. And we will be that. We are that good. We are that smart. We are that wise. We know how to survive. You look at the little chipmunks that run across your garden. You look at those. You see how well patterned they are in camouflage, that even if you're looking for them, you can't see them. You see the deer that change their color to camouflage themselves. You see that every animal in the animal kingdom, every animal in nature has its means of survival, so that wherever it goes, built into its system is the ability to survive. So do we. We've got this thinking, figuring out mechanism inside of ourselves that turns us away from the things in us that others turn away from. Now, with 4 minutes left to go in this talk, how in the world am I even going to get close to where I need to be? Where does the time go when we get together? I wonder that. I have such a good time with you. So, the first step says you admit that you are powerless over. And you're going to have to fill that in, because we're spending the summer looking to change our relationship with love. What does that mean? We think that's what got you in the door. You think that it's going to be change our relationship. So, boy, people are just going to love me, love me, love me, love me, love me. And they will, but that's the second part. The first part is they are going to love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you after you love yourself. And we say, I love myself. We go around, we do some affirmation. We say, I love myself. I love myself the way I am. You know that Louise Hay stuff. I love myself. I love myself. We take our beads and we do our beads 108 times. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Here's the thing. We got to go back. We got to go all the way back to the place that we hid away that which was so unbearably unlovable to others. And we got to go back and we got to love that. Now, I have an exercise for you. This week, with step 1, I do a meditation exercise. I call it, well, sometimes I don't tell the whole truth. And it's for your own good. I made up this idea of a meditation, but if I came to people and said, I made up this idea of a meditation, they would say, oh, well, okay, I can make up an idea of a meditation too. So what I said is it's a Buddhist meditation. And I even gave it a name because it had a lot more gravity to it. I called it a Buddhist stopping meditation. Then people stop and they go, oh, well, okay, Buddhist, I'm there, count me in. What is it? I'll do it. Not any old meditation. It's a Buddhist stopping meditation in some way related to verse 82 that I read earlier from the Tao Te Ching. So, here's what happens. This hand that we wait to come from somebody else, this love that we wait to be given to us from somebody else, this hand, it's our hand. See, nobody else is going to come until our hand comes back home. Until we take our hand and put our hand on our body and begin to come to ourselves with that kind of loving kindness. See, here's the thing. We think that the damage was done when somebody didn't love us, when somebody didn't accept us. We think that that's where the damage was done. And I'm telling you, that is not where the deepest cut was. The deepest cut is a bit after that. The deepest cut happened after you yourself turned away from yourself and decided that that which is not loved by others, you absolutely, positively could not love either. And on the day you closed the door to loving that part of yourself, that was the moment where the addiction to false love, to bad love, to incomplete love, to cyclical, weak love, to fragile love, to bad news love, to car wreck love, to crazy alcoholic love, to violent love, to abuse love, to every kind of love but the good love that we look for and that we want and that we feel we deserve. That place was the deepest cut. And that place in us is waiting for us, not mom, not dad, not Uncle Joe, not sister, or brother, or teacher, nobody. It's waiting for us. It's waiting for our hand. Our hand. So the way I do this Buddhist stopping meditation is I have you put your hand on your own chest. And I have you say these words. But before you do, you put your hand on your chest and you take a breath down to this place. Not the place where you normally breathe, right up here, the Continental Divide. I'm talking about the place down here, which nobody breathes down to unless, of course, you're a smoker like myself, in which case you breathe down to your kneecaps. But for those of us who don't smoke, you take that breath down to your chest, down to the place where your hand is. And you say these words, I am here now. Try. In the past, in the other classes, what we did was it was putting ourselves in the present moment, and that's what happens. But for our purposes this summer, this is going to be probably one of the most underestimated things you're going to do. And trust me, you're going to walk out of here and say, oh my God, I came all the way out of my bed. I could have been reading the New York Times and had a latte and been playing footsies with the person I love. I came here to get this silly August Gold hand on the chest meditation. The answer is yes. Yes, you did. I could have been in bed with someone too this morning. You put your hand here, and you do it as often during the day as you remember. Not once, not twice. Walking down the street, waiting for your coffee to percolate. Waiting online at the supermarket. Getting ready at night, brushing your teeth. And you close for that moment. You put your hand your hand on your body. You take a breath down into your body. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for you because they're waiting for you to do it. We have to do it first, and we have to want to do it. We're so happy to let even an anonymous person put their hand on our chest sooner than we are to put our own familiar one on our own chest. This seems boring by comparison, and you'll do it until it's not boring. You do it until it actually feels kind of good. I am here now says, I'm here now. It means you're coming home. It means you're turning back. It means for this moment, it might not last more than 2 seconds long, but for this moment, you are back in your body. You are turned back to yourself, and you know that there isn't another hand on earth that's going to soothe you and calm you and love you and give to you the way this hand is, the way your hand is. And you're going to do it as many times as you think during the day. I am here now. And after you do that, you take a breath. Look, we're talking a stopping meditation, 3 seconds. After you do that, you take a breath, your hand, take a breath down to that place and say, I am here now. Hear what you're saying. You look at what's right in front of you. Because most of the time our head is everywhere else but here. When's that guy going to come? When are they going to give me that? When are they going to say they're sorry? When am I going to get that back? When am I going to be able to do that different? You look at what's right in front of you and plant yourself in the present moment. Why? Because if you're looking for love, the only place you're going to find is in the present moment. Looking for anything, but if you're looking for love, the only place you're going to find is in the present moment. You have to be in the present moment where we don't want to be. And why don't we want to be in the present moment? Why do we fill the present moment with any addiction at all? We fill it because we don't want to be in that place of what we're hiding. Because what I hide from you, I hide from me. And what I hide, I eventually hate. And what I hate, I will turn against. And man, can we be a good enemy to ourselves. We might be on a peace march out in the street wanting peace in Iraq, but when the door closes, looking in the mirror, man, boy, can we be a vile and tyrannical enemy towards ourselves and that which we have turned against. And this is going to be a summer of unveiling that which you have hidden and turning back to that which is waiting for you to come back home, so you can begin, instead of loathing it, to like it, to know it by its name, to love it, to welcome it, and fill that hole with your love. And you will discover an extraordinary thing when you spend the summer in this kind of a love affair with yourself. It is the blueprint. You have our word, the blueprint of the very quality of love affair. By vibration that you will be attracting to you, by the law of attraction. You are setting up the love affair that you are going to be inviting in with this hand, on this body, in this moment, in this sacred center, the space and this space. And you give yourself 90 days to do it and bring everybody who you want to do it with you. Just put them on your back and bring them in. And you will discover an extraordinary thing. That which has eluded you, through the grace of God, will elude you no more. Try this out for a moment. Take a stand for this truth. On your feet and feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the floor beneath your feet as you say it. If it feels queer, let it feel queer for a while. I know not everybody's a touchy-feely person, but you know what? This kind of touching, everybody is. Because this kind of touching has been missing from the mix for the longest time. Not anybody else's hands, ours. So you take a breath down to where your hand is and you say, I am here now.
I am here now.
Take a breath. You're looking at what's right in front of you. You say it again.
I am here now.
And you say it again.
I am here now.
When you're out on the street, you only need to say it once, 3 seconds. Because the hand you've been longing for, my dears, is your own. And for the ability of the truth to set us free on a path back to the original love we deserve, we are worthy of having, and we are meant to have, how grateful are we?